Acting Speaker, I also rise to take note of this year's 25-26 budget. Acting Speaker, budgets are lots of paper, lots of words, lots of numbers, lots of spreadsheets, lots of dot points, charts. But in essence, what budgets are an opportunity to demonstrate the priorities of a government. This isn't a partisan comment, this is a general comment. They're the opportunity for governments, whether they be national or subnational governments, of any colour, to demonstrate what their priorities are. This year's budget, Labor's 11th budget, is titled Focused on What Matters Most. And I contend at the outset, Acting Speaker, that Labor, after 11 years, is focused on anything other than what matters most to Victorians. I want to take you on a bit of a history lesson, Acting Speaker. Net debt at the end of this budget cycle is expected to hit, according to Labor's own budget, at $194 billion. $194 billion. Don't worry, I'll get to what it started with. If you include net debt, including the general government sector, the debt is $234 billion. Now, we know that the daily interest payments, the annual interest payment, is paid on the net debt only. At the end of these forward estimates over the next 4 years, as outlined in Labor's 11th budget, the daily interest payment will be $29 million a day. That's around $1.2 million an hour just in interest payments, not capital payments, interest payments. The tax take has increased from $39 billion to $47 billion. Public sector wages have increased from $38 billion to $42.5 billion. Debt has grown by around 9% each and every year since Labor has been in power. Just for a moment imagine, Acting Speaker, if the way the Labor government ran their budget was applied to the way a family or a small business, or a large business for that matter, ran their budget, with an annual growth in debt of 9% per year. Your tax take is increasing from $39 billion to $47 billion. But at the same time, your debt increases to $194 billion. Every time this government has been warned to rein in its debt, they have done anything other than rein in its debt. And we know how they pay for it, Acting Speaker. We know how they pay for it. Victorians know how they pay for it. Victorian hard-working taxpayers know how they pay for it. Because what this government does, and what this government has done over the last 11 years, has made their poor economic management the problem of everyday hard-working Victorians. That's what they've done, with more than 60 new or increased taxes in that time. And what do Victorians get to see for this? We are now at a stage where Victorians are paying more tax than they've ever paid before. We're in Victoria. We have the highest taxes of any subnational government in the country. We have the highest business taxes of any subnational jurisdiction in the country. We have the highest property taxes of any subnational jurisdiction in the country. And what do Victorians get for it? Sweet nothing. They get more taxes. They're paying more in taxes, Labor's taxes, than they've ever paid before, and they're getting nothing for it. They're being ripped off by a government who, frankly, after 11 years, have failed to care. Have failed to care. Labor continues to fail Victorians. Labor continues to fail everyday, hard-working Victorians. In that time, and don't ask me, Acting Speaker, ask the Australian Bureau of Statistics. Victoria's unemployment, at a time when our national unemployment rate has decreased to 4.2%, Victoria's state unemployment rate has increased by 0.1% to 4.6%. 4.6%. That means that for 17 consecutive months, Victoria has had the highest unemployment of any state in the country. That 17-month streak, those opposite may wish to cheer and applaud, but I don't, is the longest streak since the Australian Bureau of Statistics began collecting labour force data in 1978. That is nothing to be proud of, because we know that if someone is unemployed, that means that they don't have the ability to pay their way, to provide for themselves, to provide for their families, to positively contribute to their community, to stand on their own 2 feet, to feel dignity, to feel worth. A job is not just that. A job is an opportunity for someone to feel self-worth and to contribute. And we on this side want more Victorians to be in jobs. We have an appetite and a drive for economic growth, to target industries and to improve productivity and to adopt new and emerging technologies. The private sector's doing it. Why can't the public sector? The private sector is adopting things like artificial intelligence. Why can't the public sector to achieve those productivity improvements that we so desperately need? Now, Acting Speaker, I'm not here just to give you the bad news. I'm here to give you the good news also. And the good news is this. On the election of a Liberal National Government after the state election in November next year, we will scrap taxes. We will scrap taxes. We will scrap Labor's schools tax. Labor's schools tax is a tax on choice. It is a tax on education. It is a tax on parents' ability to choose the best educational opportunity for their child. Labor will have you believe that those independent schools and those families that choose to send their kids to independent schools are rich. Far from it, Acting Speaker. Those independent schools and those families who choose to send their children to independent schools to give them, in their view, what is the very best start in life, many of them don't just work 1 shift in the taxi, but a 2nd shift in the taxi to pay those school fees. Why are they being targeted? We will scrap Labor's health tax. We will scrap Labor's health tax, not just for GPs, but for allied health, because we know and we understand on this side, more so than on the government side, the importance of primary health. The importance of primary health. The economic circumstance that those opposite simply cannot understand is this. Primary health needs to be invested in. Primary health needs to be not just invested in, but protected. Because as soon as someone presents to an emergency department of a public hospital in this state, it costs the Victorian taxpayer far more than investing and defending and protecting primary health. We get that. Under a Liberal National Government, the health tax, Labor's health tax, will be scrapped. The holiday and tourism tax will also be scrapped. There's 7.5% tax on short-term rentals. Now, in another role, at another time, I had the great privilege of working with my upper house colleagues in the other place to propose to the chamber, the upper house chamber at that point in time, some amendments to Labor's tax on short-term rentals. Because not everyone is equal, and we should respect diversity in our state, and we should do our very best to protect the most vulnerable. Now, Acting Speaker, we moved amendments in the other place to exclude those disabled Victorians, veterans and those parents fleeing domestic violence circumstances from being taxed with Labor's holiday and tourism tax. Because Victorians in that circumstance don't want to stay in a hotel. They want to stay in a short-term rental, because short-term rentals, apart from being about a third of the cost of a hotel, also provide the home comforts that people, vulnerable people, need in that circumstance. Provides a microwave, a fridge, a washing machine, a dryer, all those things that people in those vulnerable circumstances need. Now, together with the crossbench, this Labor government opposed those amendments. So for those Victorians who are fleeing domestic violence, for those veterans who are experiencing an acute mental health episode, for those disabled Victorians who choose a short-term rental over hotel accommodation because hotels don't necessarily provide the needs, the setup for their needs, they will also be charged Labor's holiday and tourism tax, a 7.5% tax on their stay. It is disgraceful. They say they care about vulnerable Victorians and they simply do not. So that's the good news, Acting Speaker. Under a Liberal National government, we will scrap Labor's school tax. We will scrap Labor's health tax. We will scrap Labor's holiday and tourism tax. We will also scrap Labor's emergency services tax. Now, those rates are being received by Victorian homeowners and Victorian businesses at the minute, and Victorians are receiving those bills and being absolutely shocked. In my own constituency, Acting Speaker, I've received examples from Mark Sutherland, who is the owner of Sandy Scoops in Bay Road, Sandringham, an example where he is paying more in Labor's emergency services tax than he is in his Bayside Council rates. Year on year, the emergency services tax, a state government-based tax, has increased by more than 30%. How is that justified? It's really simple. It's really simple how this is justified, because they continue to spend. They continue to waste. They continue to treat Victorians with disrespect. They continue to treat hard-working Victorian taxpayers with disdain and disrespect, and they just tax them more. They tax them more. They tax them more. This is what is in the DNA of this Labor government, and it is an absolute disgrace. We will legislate a charter of budget honesty. We will make available a public expenditure dashboard. We will release every 5 years an intergenerational report. We will establish a Victorian Productivity Commission. We will reinstate a Victorian Code of Practice for the building and construction industry and establish Construction Enforcement Victoria, and we will legislate a debt cap. We will legislate a debt cap. These are important measures, important accountability measures that we are prepared to put on ourselves, because on this side of the chamber we respect Victorian taxpayers' money more than they ever will, Acting Speaker. Now, in the time that I have left, which isn't that long, I simply want to address this. When it comes to Labor's suburban rail loop, it's very, very, very clear. They don't care about livability. It starts in my patch. It starts in my community, Acting Speaker. They do not care about livability in my community.
Order. Member for Eureka, I do need to hear the Speaker.
All they want to do is ram through these plans without consultation, without care or concern for my community. Well, they elected me Minister at the table, so they have not voted for the suburban rail loop. With a 5.1% increase in margin at the last state election, they absolutely did not vote for the suburban rail loop, I can tell you that. With the suburban rail loop, in this year's budget, there's an item, there's a cost. And in the second, the third and the fourth year, do you know what they say, Acting Speaker? TBC. Does that mean to be confirmed? Does that mean too bloody costly? Does that mean, you know, what does that actually mean?
Order, member for
Under
Sandringham. I do
this-
remind you, member for Sandringham, parliamentary language, please.
On this side of the House, our message on the suburban rail loop is really clear. We will pause it and we will review it.